Greetings, new hammer, middle hammer, and old hammer folks alike. I am Old Grumpy Wolf, aka Lennon Midnight, and welcome to the Minibar Podcast. I'll be serving up lots of awesome painting nerdiness, talking to other painters around the web. And before we get started, I just want to do my normal plug thing with baselayer.com. They are, I'm trying to pull up my interact window. There we go. They are a, it's basically a social media site for painting miniatures on the web. There's no strange advertisements for blenders or toasters. It is just all miniatures in your feed. So if you would like this in your life, go check out the baselayer.com. And to get started with the show, today I have a very, very special guest on the show. He is insanely well known in the Warhammer painting world. He has helped millions of people learn how to paint. I refer to him as the Bob Ross of painting just because he's so laid back and easygoing. I happily welcome Duncan Rhodes to the show. Thank you for coming on, sir.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'll never get used to the strange world I inhabit. But thank you for that lovely introduction. That's very kind.
And just so viewers who haven't seen you or just don't know about you, where are you in the world?
So I live right in the middle of England, pretty much smack bang in the middle of the country. And I inhabit the internet as a painting presenter is how I think of myself, I guess. Basically, I specialize in teaching people painting techniques.
So we'll just dive right into it because we've only got a short time together for this one. The question that I start the show with is, what got you into the hobby of miniature painting?
Oh, well, I'm a very creative person, right? I like making stuff and like doing it with my hands. So I was always into Lego when I was a kid.
Nice.
And so Lego was like my big thing for a long time. And then one Christmas, my parents bought me this big set of Airfix model kits because they thought I'd enjoy building those too. And do you guys get Airfix over there?
How's it spelled?
Just Britain thing. AIRFIX.
I don't know. I think the closest thing we get is I know obviously we get Legos, but we also get Playmobil or Playmobil. Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay. Well, Airfix are like model kits, like airplanes, Spitfires, that sort of thing. And
sorry.
Yeah, and I had a go, and I just loved making those. And it was a set where there was a Lynx helicopter, a Jaguar jet fighter, and Superintendant, I think it was called, like a French jet fighter. Mm-hmm. And I had so much fun making these kits. And from that point on, I was always building model airplane kits. Then I got into Star Wars, and I started building Star Wars model kits.
Like you do.
And one day I was with my dad, and we walked into this model shop that was in a little village called Ashby de la Zouche, mm-hmm. which is not that far away from where I am now, actually, where I live now. Okay. And in there, they had a display that was all Warhammer, and there was these free takeaway leaflets, which I rebought one off eBay recently because it
nice.
Just warms my heart seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the little booklet in 2nd edition 40k and in 4th edition fantasy that just shows you how to play. Like it's a Space Marine versus an Orc, and like it tells you what to do.
I don't remember that, but I do remember like the intro to like 40k or like intro to the world of Warhammer. It was like they had like a little business card size one, and then there was like a little booklet they would include like all the box sets. Yeah.
It's not far away from that, but it basically explained how to play a very loose game. It didn't go into the granular detail at all. It was just like, here's a Space Marine, here's a Gretchen, here's how the basic thing works. He has to roll a 4 or more, and he does. Hey, now he rolls to see if he wounds. That sort of thing. And there's a little painting guide at the back. What stood out to me is that the Space Marines looked like the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
Because they looked like someone had taken Darth Vader and a Stormtrooper and sort of like mushed them together. And I was like, that's so cool.
But Space Marines can actually hit things.
I know, right? Yeah. With guns that shoot missiles that blow up. That's way cool. And I was also... so I'd seen the old War of the Worlds movie when I was a kid. You know the one I mean? Like with the red aliens. And it scared me half to death. So I had a bit of a paranoia, a bit of a fear of aliens. So that there were these superhuman warriors who were there to kill aliens made me quite happy. I was like, yes, get rid of the thing I'm terrified of. So my dad knew that there was a Games Workshop in Derby where I grew up, and the next weekend he took me there, and I was blown away by it. It was amazing. It totally drew me in. So I bought a box of Space Marines, and my dad bought me a pot of white paint, black paint, and a fine detail brush. And off I went, and I started painting my Space Marines like Stormtroopers. Learned more of the lore, and just got more and more into it. So yeah, it was just encountering it in this model shop. But really, I would have encountered it at some point, and I know I would have been drawn into it. So just loved the idea of making an army. I thought that was so cool.
Oh, wait, that's my Pro Acryl brush. I'm sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. I actually have old red handle fine detail brushes.
Oh, nice. That's a relic.
I don't care what people say. Like GW actually made good brushes, and they still do. Like, it's, go ahead.
That stuff, it just makes me happy.
Yeah.
From that era. I mean, I know you do a load of old stuff. Hang on a second, just underneath my desk. If I reach down here, I have my bits box of second edition 40k stuff I've been collecting. So there we are. Yes.
Oh, I remember those. I actually still have some of those.
So that's one of the things I'm painting at the moment. Some second edition Chaos Space Marines. And I'm finding that as I grow older, I become more and more fond of that era. And I don't know if that's like a common thing, to fall into this nostalgia trap, I guess. But,
talking to so many Old Hammer people, like through the show and just like in the community, it's not uncommon. Like my jam is the RTB 15 Mark 7 Space Marine Strike Force box. I've actually got one brand new sitting in my storage room.
With the ball socket joints on the arms. Yeah. Oh, that's a rare set.
There's actually one right, if you look straight down, that Mentor Legion is an RTB 15.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, no, there's something to be said about like the way Jess Goodwin sculpted back then, that his miniatures are just so timeless, especially the old Mark 7, the early Mark 7 Space Marines, and then like especially the Sneaky Beaky box set, the old plastic RTB 01s. Just for some odd reason, a lot of the stuff in second edition has just withstood the test of time so easily, no matter what Games Workshop has done with Space Marines, with anything. I think the golden era for orcs was like the Gorka Morka era, when they really got bulky and big. But no, there's just something about that time of 40K where it's just, even with New Hammer kids, they see it, they're like, wow, that was so cool. It was so cartoony, and just, wow, it was actually fun back then. It wasn't so serious.
It's quite different. And it's a lot more Wild West in that there's a lot of things that you have to work out yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So I for a long time with the second edition Chaos Codex, I found it really confusing that there was no Chaos Lord figure, and the one they had in the book was a conversion, and you couldn't buy them off the shelf.
Yeah,
and it's only more recent times that it occurred to me, when you read a bit more about the White Dwarf articles at the time, they intended for you to go and make your own, because they viewed Chaos as being totally like unique, and no two lords going to be the same. So you just convert your own. It's up to you. And that just doesn't exist anymore. Like, it's a totally different world now.
Well, I think the closest thing they had was when they introduced Abaddon.
Yes. Yeah. That was. Yeah. I suppose he was like the iconic Chaos Lord.
Yeah.
But then you'd see people take him and then convert it and alter it and things. So yeah, for my army, I might do something like that. I'm not really sure yet. I hope some of the veterans out there would forgive me if I start cutting up a second edition. I don't know.
It always amuses me that
come around and get me or something.
It always amuses me that like people get so freaked out about like cutting up old models or whatnot, or like, oh my god, how dare you take that out of the box and paint it? It's like, I paint. I'm going to take it out and make it look good.
That is what they're intended for, right?
Yeah.
So I'll show you another little gem that I have here in my collection. Hang on a second. It's rummaging around through this box I've got.
Since we're digging stuff out, give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, okie dokie. Aha, here we go. So this is something I've managed to find off of eBay, and it had quite a nice story to it. That is this set here.
Oh god, I hated those.
Really? This is the first box I bought.
I didn't like them because of how shallow the detail was.
It is really shallow, isn't it? I had no idea. I've still got my first ever miniature, and we keep it in the academy because he's such a great tool for teaching, because people see where I started and how I've grown since then. And he is one of these figures. And I managed to win this box on eBay.
Oh, cool.
And the coolest thing about it is it's all still on the sprues.
Oh, nice.
Check that out. Everything is complete. It's the whole set.
It's kind of wild how they managed to get like 3 Marines per sprue.
Yes. Yeah, and all the bits are separate. So the weapons and backpacks and everything, they're all little mini sprues. So different from what you get now.
So here's what I dug out.
Oh, there it is. Look at that. Oh, it's beautiful.
And...
oh, and the Terminators. Oh, so the chap we do the paints with, the guy who owns Transatlantic Games, he sent us one of those because he found it in his garage, because he's like an old school Games Workshop guy. He's like, oh, do you guys want it? And I was like, yes, please. So that was really nice of him.
I don't know if I told you, I wound up giving Ian all of my old Warzone stuff, including like almost brand new rule book from the full color one they first released.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's like, oh, my dad's gonna love this. I was like, yeah, just I hope you guys like it. I'm not gonna do anything with it. And I had stuff in there from like first and second edition Warzone, and like his eyes were just like,
Yeah, like, I suppose because he'd recognise it from when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ian's such a lovely guy. He's really nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
if any of you folks are at a show where Transatlantic Games are there, go and see if Ian's there, because he's a lovely guy.
Yeah, I met him at Las Vegas Open in January, and him, I think his buddy Danny was also helping him. Like we were just on Friday night, we were hanging out at the booth after LVO closed, like having beers and stuff, painting models. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, just to kind of keep it going, because we're on a tight time frame, I came up with some questions specifically for you, and I've been very curious, is what made you decide to start your own paint line?
Well, we didn't really decide to do it as such. We were approached by Bob, who owns Transatlantic Games.
Okay.
And he, so Bob's a guy who's been in the industry for forever, and he's been running various companies. So whilst people might not be aware of him, you definitely are aware of things that he's been involved with. So like he, as I understand it, he started Warzone, and he ran Privateer Press for a number of years. He ran Games Workshop North America for a number of years. He was involved with Wizards at the Coast, if I remember right. So he got to the point where he wanted to do his own company. And he essentially pitched us as a bit like Dragon's Den, I suppose. He sent us like a pack, like all formal and everything, saying he wants to make a range of hobby products and he'd like to license our brand for it. And he had some proposals and some ideas and things, and we were quite blown away with it, really. And by we, I mean Roger and myself. Now, Roger is the guy I've been working with for all the years, even at Games Workshop. He was basically setting up the TV studio and got me in as his presenter. We left Games Workshop together to do the Academy. So we're both joint owners on it, essentially. So, Bob pitched this to both of us, and we were a bit blown away by it. But we were like, sure, but if we're going to have our brand on it, we want to be heavily involved in the product. So, we'd want to approve everything, obviously.
Yeah, as you should.
But our angle in the industry is that we help people access more skills and learn more things. So we'd like the range to be done with that in mind. So, we'd like to have this triad system so it helps people learn.
Yeah.
We think these sorts of colors. And Bob just basically bit our hand off. He was like, yes, please. That sounds amazing. And so we ended up having a really close-knit relationship on it.
Okay.
And we were able, we started with aiming for 30 colors, but the triad system then force that to bulk up a little bit more, because you end up with 3 reds as opposed to like 1 or 2, right? So to get a variety of colors, it required more. So it went up to 48, and then Bob was like, is that enough? And we were like, well, we could do with a few more. And what about, and he goes, what about 60? And we were like, sweet, okay, let's do that. So it just kind of went from there. And he effectively gave us a very loose leash on, we were seeking feedback and advice for all the people at TAG, and of course all the guys in our studio that now we get different points of view, but we cultivated the colors and things. We went through them on a 1-by-1 basis in the factory, approving all the formulas. And when we were happy with it, they then took it and then went into production with it.
Okay.
So that's how it more or less happened. And TAG have been amazing in that they just want the ideal paint that I'd like to use. So they don't ever push back and try to compromise on quality or anything to save a bit of money. So it's been a really wonderful experience working with them, really. And Bob's hilarious. He's got a million stories.
With what you do, like, do you exclusively use Tooth and Coats, or do you actually use other brands as well?
Well, for my own hobby, I obviously use Tooth and Coats, right? Because I've got them all here on my painting desk for all the things I'm painting at the moment. For videos, we were using all sorts of brands. I used Citadel and most because that's what I was most familiar with when we started out with the Academy. But as they started coming out, we started filtering them in. And our idea was to use them to a degree, but try and mix in other brands so people didn't feel like they had to buy our stuff to follow along. And what we started seeing was people talking online saying, why on earth aren't they using their own? Don't they like them? If they're not using them, why should I? Yeah. And it's like, all right, we kind of have to now. So now we use them for most things in the video, unless we need a specific color that's outside of that. I've seen you use, sometimes you'll bring in Citadel colors in the videos, but it seems like you primarily stick to like the Tooth and Coats brand. Yeah, exactly. Well, we use like Citadel, we use Army Paints things sometimes, we use Vallejo. So like if we're doing a World War II thing, for example, we'll often use Vallejo because they make good World War II military colors. It seems like the model color range tends to be more realistic colors. Yes, exactly. So it's ideal for that sort of thing. But we, so that people don't feel like they've got to buy into our brand to follow the guide, we have on our website a full translation document. So if you want to use just Citadel, you can follow one of our latest videos. Conversion guide. You can see what colors swap. And whilst they're not all exactly the same, they are pretty close. Yeah. The big difference is the formula of our paints are very, very different. I've noticed your paints, they really like water and they don't separate. Yes, yeah, they hold together. They're very smooth, aren't they? They dry very smooth.
Yeah.
They tend to go quite like dull satin matte kind of finish. But yeah, we don't want to feel like you have to buy our stuff to do it. So we try and keep it as open and welcoming as possible. It's a tricky thing to navigate. Like I say, I didn't expect people to start querying why we weren't using our stuff. I thought that would be obvious that we were trying to mix it up, but there you go.
Another question that I came up specifically for you is we just touched on it a little bit, but how do your paints differ from the current paint lines on the market?
Well, anyone's been painting a while and tried a different variety of brands will know that each tends to have its own feel about them, and people tend to feel out which ones work well for them. So people's paint collections tend to be across a whole bunch of brands. Ours are consistently quite opaque because we got a very high pigment count in them. We also have a very high degree of leveling agent in it, like very high, which means our paints dry very smooth. And they dry with as I mentioned, like a near matte finish, like quite a dull satin finish, which a lot of people like. Our washers as well do dry matte because we definitely wanted to make sure they dry matte, because I hate when I put wash on the model and it goes all glossy. It shouldn't do. So essentially those are the key things. They're all very high quality, which makes the process easier. It's a difficult thing to get people to understand when they're fairly new to it, because they tend to just look at the color and think that's all there is to it, so like different paints are all the same. But if you start using them, you'll see what we mean. We always get feedback from people saying they like them because it seems to make painting easier, because the paint's easier to manipulate, and that's because of the quality of the ingredients I put into it. So if anyone wants to see what I mean, I just encourage you to pick up a bottle or two and just see what you think. So Doom Death Black's great, and so is White Star, so that's Savage Black and Pure White. Our metallics are great too. It was actually the chemist wanted to experiment with a new technique he had, and he explained it to me, but I don't understand what he was talking about, because I get the individual words, just not the order they're in. Right? It's like he's like a science guy.
I get the words, just not the order they're in. I got to steal that.
Yeah.
That's good.
So he did this stuff, and he came out with these metallics, and it's like, they're amazing. They just didn't separate, didn't break up. So we went with that, and we were like, we want these colors, and we'd mixed up examples of what we wanted using like a variety of other brands, or like this kind of color but our formula, and so we do it. And as you start doing those sort of changes, it can change what the formula and the performance of the paint's like. So there'll be rounds of fine tweaking and adjusting the inputs and make the final thing behave in the way we wanted. And it was a lot of hard work, but I think it paid off. So also Dragon's Gold, I'd recommend trying Dragon's Gold and Surcoat Silver if you want a good feel of what our metallics are like. But,
and just so people know, like, just so Old Hammer people know, Two Thin Coats does make an exact Goblin Green replica.
yes, we do. I've got it right here.
It's called Goblinoid Green.
Goblinoid Green.
Yep.
And we literally got a sample of Goblin Green, like the original one. It's like, we want you to make a color like that, please. And sure.
I don't understand the whole obsession with Goblin Green bases. It's like the only part of Old Hammer that I'm just like,
yeah.
I've painted.
It's a nostalgia thing.
I think I've painted 4 or 5 bases Goblin Green, and that was when I was like a teenager. And ever since then, it's either been like a black rim with a dark green top, or you ought to know the color, Dark Angel Green rim with Dark Angel Green with Bilious Green dry brushed on top, or what I do now, the terracotta rim with, it's like a green base coat and then Citadel flock on top of it. But it was like, you need a Goblin Green base. I'm like, you go paint your own model and you paint a Goblin Green.
Exactly, you don't have to. I did, so my Old Hammer fantasy stuff, or I should say Middle Hammer, I suppose, 5th edition stuff and 4th. On those, I've been doing the top of the base in my normal scenic way with static grass and stuff, but the rim I'll paint Goblin Green.
Okay.
Or Goblinoid Green. And that's specifically because I want to evoke that old school look.
Yeah.
Especially with a lot of it being Chaos Warriors. I don't know if you remember the 5th edition ones where they started painting the base like black and like scorched earth style. But
are you talking about Fantasy?
Green. Yeah, and Warhammer Fantasy.
I think I had a box of those. I think I gave them to my painting bestie. I believe I know what you're talking about. They were multi-piece plastic?
Yeah, the first regiment box. That's the era I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They had, it was like a scorched earth style base, and I think there was static grass on theirs, but the rim was Goblin Green, and so I've been doing them like that because I want my arm to look like those ones, because they that era evokes a particular feeling and memory in me. Of reading White Dwarfs and wanting to do that army, but I couldn't afford it at the time, so I've just been collecting that. With the 40k stuff, on the other hand, I have been doing them with the with black rims on there and my usual sort of textured top, because I think the black rim looks quite classy, shall we say? It sort of frames it nicely. So yeah.
Well, it's like kind of plinthy, just without the plinth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I want them to look like $1 million, you know. Because I think they're just so cool.
Just a little bit more history before I kind of dive into anything else. How did you wind up working at Games Workshop, and what did you do there?
So I started working at Games Workshop in their retail chain, and the way it happened was I'd been out of the hobby a bit during my exam periods in school. So I got my A-levels, so I was going to go to university. And on the day I got my results, my friend and I went to go and see Terminator 3 in the cinema, and that reminded me of Necrons.
So this was early 2000s.
Yeah. And I remember the Necrons as the clunky old metal figures, so the second edition ones. And I was like, I've not seen anything for ages. I want to look like now. So I looked them up online when I got home, and they completely revamped the Necron range, and I thought it was amazing. So I went in the next day and bought a box of Necron Warriors, and that's where I met Chris Peach. And I ended up coming.
Was that Peachy?
He invited me back in. Yeah, Peachy,
okay.
yeah. He invited me back in for a game, and I turned up with my old word bearers that had been in a box for years. And we really hit it off. And so I asked about a summer job because I needed one, and I ended up getting invited to. They had it in application days, and so I went through that, and I got the job, even though I wasn't that hot on the rules at the time. But I did my best to learn it all in fantasy, and from that I enjoyed it so much that I didn't bother going to university, which is, I think, fair enough. I was going to study archaeology, and I don't think I would have done anything practical with it. So,
well, I mean, you kind of study archaeology now, the archaeology of Oldhammer.
Very true. So yeah, I moved up into full-time position. I left retail after almost 4 years to the day, and I ended up working in real jobs and things. But I then got a job in the studio being an army painter. And that's because Peachy ended up moving into the studio, and he was in they're called the hobby team at the time, and they needed a painter. He thought I'd be good at it, so he nudged me and say, this job's going up, you should apply. And so I did, and I got it. So I just suddenly found myself back at Games Workshop in the design studio, providing content for White Dwarfs and things. The TV stuff then came along 4 years after that, and it was because they'd just made a TV studio, and they wanted to put a DVD in a painting guide book that coincided with the new Citadel paint range. And as I was involved in that, having someone from our team do the guides was a natural fit. But out of all the team, I didn't chew my fingernails, so I had the prettiest hands, and I had a slightly more open schedule. So I got seconded to the TV team for about 3 weeks, I think, doing this, and it fit me really well because throughout all of this time, my favorite thing to do was teach painting lessons and help people unlock the skills. It's like, especially with a kid, it's magic when you told them how to dry brush.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite aspects about painting is teaching people and helping people, especially like youngins, because they're like,
yeah, it's great, isn't it? You see them get confidence from it. I love that. It's especially cool when we're there with their dad. You know, it really reminds me of when I was a kid, and it's just a really lovely thing. So I just kept finding myself in a position where I could do that on a bigger level. Now the TV thing, when the job came for that, that was all Roger's doing, because he took the DVD thing, went to his boss and said, I think we could do it better like this with YouTube, which was really coming into its own at that point. He managed to get me for 2 more days, and we filmed a sample painting video, which his boss liked so much they then put up the job for it. So I applied for that job and I got it, and then all of a sudden I'm there on TV. And this happened at the same time that Games Workshop stopped putting people's names on products.
Yeah. Well, it seems like their history, they're always really like this with it, because like in the Rogue Trader days, they like every sculptor, every painter, every illustrator, they have their name slapped on the photos, and the second edition came along and you barely ever saw it again. And then like third edition, they got, or like 2000s, they got better with it, and then the 10s are like, nope, no more, nope.
The crash on that happened just as I was joining TV. Now Roger argued that a key part of the video was like you saw my face, and the point was to make you view me as like that friendly teacher, like an older brother or something like that, to just help, like lean over your shoulder and just guide you on what to do. And all the angles were designed with that in mind. And so he said it was critical to see me, and you can't see me then without a name being assigned to it, because otherwise the internet's going to assign any old random name to it, right? So you had to do it. So for a number of years, I was the only person in Games Workshop whose name was being put out publicly, which I think is how it all really snowballed. So yeah, kind of right place, right time, really.
I've watched. I've listened to a lot of like what Louise's podcast with Jugs, with her and Rob and Chris and whatnot, and just listening. Like they've talked about you a bit, and some of your struggles post leave, or like during the exit process and then post leaving. And it sounds like that was like a really frustrating time for you because of just what they were trying to pull some shady stuff from what I've heard.
Well, I mean. They were, working at Games Workshop is like working anywhere else, right? You have good days and bad days. And there are people you get on with and people that you don't. So I won't deny there was certainly like, normal things working in the office. The contrast paint thing was definitely building up around the time that I left. And I do know so I was a bit confused at the presentation of the contrast paint and the way it was being pushed as like an easy way for beginners to paint, because it requires a certain level of dexterity, which you learn over time. So I didn't view it as being quite so beginner friendly as what the message was. But that's what the company wanted to do. And obviously they're paying my wages, right? But the reason why really Roger and I left was because so Roger had always had a dream of having his own business. Right? That's always something he'd always wanted to do. And we realized that because we both paid into Games Workshop's share save scheme and the funds are about to mature, because with that, for anyone not aware, basically you do 3 years worth of savings and you put some of your wage in every month. And when you get to the end of it and it matures, you can buy shares in the company at the price they were when you started doing this. So 3 years before.
Interesting.
So you could then immediately sell them at the price the shares were then. And Games Workshop was on the rise here. So we made a good amount of money on doing that. Like not an insane amount of money, but enough to be able to buy equipment. So we had the funds, we had the skills, we had the reputation, we had the experience. And so we decided we could probably do a business that it teaches painting skills and guides, and then we can build upon that with other stuff. So we decided to go for it because the key argument was if we don't try, we'll always wonder if it could have worked. So we were brave and we handed in our notice and off we went to go and do it. So that was the main motivator for it. I don't wish Games Workshop any ill will with any of this sort of stuff. Like I say, there's good days and bad days or anything like that. But I also don't like the idea of trying to make drama out of that. Because I don't think anyone really cares.
There's
if you have a bad day in the office, everyone has a bad day in the office. But when people watch our content, they want to enjoy painting their miniatures, right?
Yeah, so. You leave and, you kind of want to leave that, whatever animosity was there. It's like, leave behind, go start a new thing. And
I've still got loads of friends at Games Workshop.
And
I chat to them on a regular basis, right? And life's really busy now, so it's not like I get to see them that often, to be honest. But at Adepticon earlier this year, I bumped into a number of the old management that I used to work under in Warhammer Community, and I had a really nice chat with some of them. There was one I hung out with him for about 20 minutes, just having a good catch up, and it was really nice. It was really nice just to share stories and things. So
I coming into painting. I spent 18 years building a business and a brand for automotive stuff. Like I make body kits, suspension, and apparel. And for are you into drifting at all? Like the car
drifting
stuff?
No.
Okay, well, like the big drift.
I drive very politely.
the big drift car is like the Nissan 240SX/180SX/Sylvia.
Yeah.
So I've been making products for those and getting out of that world. From what you're describing, it sounds very similar to what I've been going through. Getting out of that world and coming into the painting world, it's night and day difference. Going from the car community, which tends to be very toxic, very gatekeepish, to coming into painting where painters seem to be very just wide open, welcoming. Nobody gatekeeps. Everybody tries to lift each other up, and it has just been this marvelous and wonderful experience. And seeing guys like you who have made a career out of helping people to paint, is like inspiring guys like me who are trying to do the same thing. And leaving, you kind of get out of one bad situation and come into something good, and you kind of leave that animosity and frustration behind. Sometimes it does leak over because it's still not 100% gone, and it'll always be part of your life. But when you get into that situation where it's like venturing out, starting something new, and actually building it upon a foundation of like positivity, joy, and like just personal growth, it seems to build very easily. And it's like fire, fanning the flames of the fire. It's just like, oh, I want to do more of that. This is just so cool.
Oh yeah. And it's great with the Academy now. Because when we started, it was just Roger and myself in his living room where we set up our studio. And since then we've grown.
Big things start.
So So we inhabit an old police station now, which it was converted years ago. I think it was a tanning place, like a tanning salon thing for a number of years, but that closed down around COVID times, and so it was empty for a number of years. So when we moved in, essentially it was just like this empty, nice office thing. So we built our studio in there, because it used to be a police station. What was the cell now has all our stock in it, so it's like quite cool. It's got a bit of a narrative to it. It's a bit of a quirky building.
Does it still have the sliding bars?
No, unfortunately, no. It has this massive door with a big clunk thing when you turn the key.
That'd be great for a storage room.
It is really cool. Freezing cold in there, though, full of spiders too. So, but we've been joined by Roger's wife, so she does all our admin and things. And there's a friend of ours, a chap called Joe, who we used to work with at Games Workshop, and he used to do a number of Games Workshop events and things. So he's joined us as our social media guy, but he also runs our events, which means he's really good at it. So he can just be let go, and what he'll do is he'll find a show that he thinks is worth our time, and he'll come to Roger and me, and it's like, right, so there's this, and I think it could benefit in these ways. I think the costs are like this. I think we'd require this, and it's really cool because it's like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Off you go. And so he goes and does things. So like our presence at UK Games Expo was all of his work, and so that's really cool because he loves doing that, and he's directly contributing to the growth of the business. We've got another guy who's joined us, a chap called Jack. He's doing all the video editing work these days, so I work quite closely with him, and that's really cool because he studied in university to do video editing and things.
Oh,
and so
nice.
Now he's got a proper job doing it, and so he's really happy.
Oh, I can bet.
And Roger and his wife, Bernice, they always bring in their dog. Gizmo, who's a pug. And so he's trotting around the office all the time.
I have a cat named
Gizmo loves Jack. He loves Jack. So whenever the doors open between a shoot, you'll hear the little padding of Gizmo sneaking in. And you'll go up to Jack and he wants to sit in his lap whilst he's editing the video and stuff. So it's just a really nice, nice homely atmosphere in the studio. It's lovely being there. So it's obviously nowhere near the size of Games Workshop, but it is cool to be in this nice little quaint village with these people, and we're trying to foster a really nice environment so everyone's happy. Everyone feels like they're a part of the team. So it's been really good.
Yeah, I think he's downstairs napping, but sometimes during my podcast, Gizmo will come up and he loves.
So your dog's Gizmo too?
Oh, he loves announcing when he's in the room and just.
I didn't realize that.
And he knows when he does that, I'll grab him and put him on camera. And then he hops down and runs away and goes to sleep.
Oh, bless him. Oh, he's had a hard day though.
I'm going over my list of questions here. We touched on that. Here's a good one for when you're actually painting for competition, because you do. I've seen your competition pieces and they're really good.
I don't really submit into competitions myself.
I consider them competition pieces, like when you go all out. But the question is, when you do that kind of stuff, do you paint in sub-assembly?
Yes, no. So the stuff that I tend to paint to a higher level is almost always from a painting video. And so there will be sub-assemblies on there if I think they're worth recommending to the audience who are following through what we're painting. So, for example, we did a video on Fugan, the Fire Dragon Exarch recently, or Phoenix Lord rather, sorry. And for that we wanted to push it and do some more advanced stuff on it. So that model I do some quite small sub-assemblies, which are just recommendations if you're trying to go to that level, just so you're not tripping over the detail. When it comes to larger stuff, I'll always try and keep it to a minimum, because I find painting sub-assemblies a bit of an irritant personally, because I don't like having all these small parts all over the place. I try and make it as large as possible. I'll try and minimize it, really. I'll tend to, a common thing is with cavalry models, keeping the rider and the mount separate. I'll tend to stick them together. And I figure if you can't see the thing that I can't reach with my brush, you probably won't notice it on the tabletop, so that's all right. That's the way I generally approach it. Sometimes the sub-assemblies get quite extreme when it comes to some of the Games Workshop miniatures. So, the Sky Lantern for Cathay? No, right. So imagine one of those. Chinese lanterns.
They showed that during earlier in the year during one of the reveal videos. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Got it.
So he painted one of those recently. This thing's massive. It's next to my head. It's about that size. So it's a great big Chinese lantern, which is effectively the balloon of a hot air balloon. So there's a gondola underneath it with all crew inside it, and I think it's 5 crew, and then you can put in a character as well, called a magistrate. So I had to do this video. And this thing ends up broken down into so many sub-assemblies just so you can get to the crew. And so the whole video is structured around that, explaining why we've done it in that way, so you can So it makes the process easier, basically. So yeah, my sub-assemblies tend to be done with that sort of thing in mind.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope that answers that.
Yeah, I found like with some models that have a wider open pose, you don't have to go nuts with the sub-assembly painting, but for me personally, like if you've got something like a Marine that's covered, his chest and everything's covered, it's like do the arms separate. If you want to glue the shoulder pads on, do that. Glue them on. But I guess for me, like it drives me nuts knowing something's not painted underneath. I'm like,
yeah, I know that feeling. I was trying to like force myself out of being worried about that.
With what you do and all the years you've been involved, who influenced your painting style?
So I would say Dave Andrews was a massive influence.
Okay.
He's a guy who's been at Games Workshop for forever. He had a very practical, down-to-earth way of approaching things, and he is a master at painting armies, and that's what I most enjoy. Just having an army display on the tabletop.
Yeah.
And I like to paint the models as well as I can, and the TV stuff has tended to force me into putting detail on things I didn't back in the past. So I found an old Bretonian unit of peasants that I did for 8th edition. So it's a unit of 40 of them. And when I was looking at them, I basically didn't highlight anything except for the faces and their shields. And that was on Dave's advice. And that's what people see. And it's true, when you have the unit all together and it's all based, they look like everything's been done. But when you go in close, you can see I've not highlighted like the boots or the gloves or whatever. So he's been a huge influence. And Chris Peach was too. And so was a chap called Neil. And so Peachy and Neil are guys I used to work with when I was in retail. And when I joined, they were both definitely better painters than me. And so I just absorbed as much as I could by osmosis of what they were doing. And they definitely pointed out ideas and things. I remember them showing me highlighting on a Space Marine to get the result like on the book. And that was a bit of like a revelation to me to see how to do that. So yeah, Peachy is also a genius when it comes to working out how to paint things quickly.
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone who's able to paint such a professional level army so fast as he does. He understands intuitively what things to skip past, I think, to get the overall finished unit result. So yeah.
Yeah, there was back in the Rogue Trader days, like that. Basically, I don't know if you've watched it or not, but I did. Do you know who Tim Prow is?
I know the name. Yes.
Yeah. So Tim did. There was that weird time between. It was like a year and a half between Rogue Trader and 2nd edition, and when like the company was transitioning from Ansel to corporate buyout. But Tim did all the box art models for early 2nd edition, all the Space Marines. And
that's
like
where I was seeing his name. Yeah,
he was cranking those out, and McVeigh was doing a lot of the character models. But there was this weird little phase in time where Tim wound up having to do like flat colored Space Marines, Eldar, and Orcs. And the ones that are most recognizable are the old RTB-15 Blood Angels that were just flat color. They had black lining, flat color. There was no highlights.
Yes. Yeah. So, I know the ones.
When you get a whole bunch of those together on the table, you don't minimal detail. You don't need to go full extreme. They all look very complete when you've got 30 of them stuck together. So you're talking about the army painting thing.
Yeah, it's the overall effect. You view the army as a single piece, effectively. And it's same things apply when you're painting a single miniature. There's certain things you'll want to draw the viewer's eye to. Same is true when it comes to an army. You'll want the centerpiece, you want the characters to look good, you'll want something big and something interesting. The rank and file are almost like the filler.
Funny thing is, my painting bestie, like him and I grew up together. We met in 7th grade, and I got him into Warhammer when we were youngins, and he's still into it. He's still an amazing painter. He unloaded a bunch of old Hammer stuff at my house, and a bunch of actually his collection of White Dwarfs from the 2010s or 2000s and the 10s. And I found a few articles that you wrote or you were in those magazines and those issues.
Of course, yeah. Because I did a Word Bearers army there. There was a Blood Angels army. A Rohan army. Did a massive Rohan force around.
I think the Blood Angels one is the one I know because there was an issue that was like re-release of Space Marines, and there was a bunch of Blood Angels in there. So I think that was yours, and I do remember the Chaos article.
Yes, the Word Bearers. So
do you want me to take pictures of those when I run across them and send them to you?
I'd love to see that.
Okay.
That'd be great to revisit that. Yeah, I did see them in the background of some Games Workshop stuff, and I was like, I did those years ago. Yeah.
The funny thing is, 80 Wood. Do you know 80?
Yes, I didn't really get to speak to him when I was there.
Okay.
Certainly not very much. But of course I know of him because he did all those amazing articles in White Dwarf when I was growing up.
80 is he's a really good friend of mine. Like I met him a year and a half ago, and he's turned into such a good friend. I love that man to death. But it's funny. I'll take pictures of articles that I found that he wrote in 90s and early 2000s White Dwarf, and he's like, bloody hell, I don't even remember that.
It must be strange for him because he's been massively influential on my generation.
Yeah,
of growing up with this stuff. I mean, I remember reading all of his battle reports and seeing the conversions that he did. And, I mean, orcs were his jam, and orcs weren't really my army. But I was fascinated at seeing the way he'd combine parts together to make unique conversions and things. Like his dreadnoughts were famous, made out of all sorts of things, like a goblin rock thrower and stuff. As I started doing Gorka Morka, I definitely took a lot of influence from the sort of stuff that he did in making custom combinations to make custom trucks and stuff like that. So. I'd be fascinated to speak to him about that sort of thing, to see how he feels about people talking to him about the kind of influence he's had. So.
We did. If you're curious, him and I did. God, it was like a 2.5 hour episode, and 80 just loves talking about his what he's done with his models and his times at Games Workshop and whatnot, and the 90s stuff. And it was interesting to me. One of the biggest things was he was production. He was production designer, production manager for White Dwarf. And yes. I got my first graphics job when I was like 16 in the 90s. So it was interesting to trade battle stories with him about old software, old hardware, the old archaic way of going around putting together magazines and getting things scanned in. Now it's like the process has completely changed. You can go from shooting a video on your phone to full, 1080 or 4K video on YouTube in, 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah, or just something you're holding in your hand.
Yeah, whereas back then
you had to phone someone up about it. Yeah,
you had to go from your mini DV cam to bring it a mini DV deck on the desktop, bring it into Premiere, import it to Premiere, start nonlinear editing, and then output the video. 20-minute video took like 2 hours to render.
Well, please do tell him that.
I'll let
I'm very
know.
grateful. I'm very grateful for all the stuff he was doing back then, because I really enjoyed it. It was a happy moment for me to get White Dwarf and read all the stuff in there. So,
I remember when we first started talking, I was like, dude, you were such a huge influence to my life, like especially with White Dwarf, and just, seeing your battle reports, seeing your silly pictures. Like I saw your picture pop up. I knew it was going to be a good article. It didn't matter what.
I tell you, it was so weird for me when I started in the studio meeting these people that I was aware of. So a big thing for me was meeting the Perry twins, because I recognized their name from the Dogs of War started coming out. I really liked the Dogs of War. So I remember on my interview day, I saw Michael Perry walk past the window for the room, and I was like, oh my God, it's him. And my first day when I went over to talk to them, because they were sat back to back and they had these shelves with all the Napoleonic miniatures on them and stuff. And I was like, hello, my name's Duncan. I'm the new hobby painter guy. And they were like, oh, hello. And they were so friendly. And when I told them that I liked the Dogs of War stuff, there was one time where they were clearing out their drawers and they found loads of old Dogs of War miniatures. And they just came over, do you want them? Like, yeah.
Yes, please.
So they're in my collection. Ali Morrison, he's such a nice guy. He's so lovely. And again, he was a name that I knew, but I didn't really know much about him, but he was so friendly and nice. I was lucky enough to get. So he's really good friends with Dave Andrews. So those two guys, they have their own little company doing historical miniatures. And one Christmas, they invited Peachy and myself over to Dave's house, and he had a Dark Ages battle. I think it was like Normans and Saxons fighting against each other, and he'd written his own set of rules, and they were there just having this really casual, gentlemanly game, playing this stuff, and it was so magic to be able to experience that. There were so many lovely people at Workshop. I mean, a lot of them, of course, have retired now and moved on to different things and stuff, but it was so cool. There was one guy, John Stallard, who used to work there. He runs Warlord Games now. There, years ago, when I was working in retail, they had all staff got sent for a 2-day thing called the Spirit of Games Workshop at Warhammer World, and you got given a battle force of your choice. You got a full tour of the studio and the factory and everything to see it was all done. They put on a meal for you. There were all these things, and the idea was to get you to understand the ethos of what the hobby the message was about, right? And I met John at that with one conversation. Anyway, a number of years later, I just happened to walk past him in the corridor, and he knew who I was. And somehow he'd remembered my name. And I was just a retail full-timer, and I remember just like that meant quite a lot. Like I felt like I was helping, I was part of something. So.
I spent I know that kind of feeling. I spent in 2015 one of my best friends that I worked with, he and I started a band, and when I introduced myself as Lennon Midnight, Lennon is my actual name, but Lennon Midnight was my band, and it's now just my artist name. But him and I, we put out 3 albums. We have a 4th that we will probably never finish. 2 EPs. We're all self-published, but it was fun being in the band scene and actually much like you meeting, all these guys that I looked up to and like other bands. And one of which I ended up managing his merch for the better part of 3 or 4 years. I designed, managed, and distributed all of his merch, and it was really neat. It's neat when you get into a world where you've got your heroes, you've got the people that you look up to, and you get into working with them. It just becomes like the inspiration, and behind everything, it just again fanning the flames. It just feeds in, and makes you like more and more driven. It's so cool.
Yes, yeah. It's nice when you meet these people and you discover like they're human, but they're also genuine and nice people too. Because you hear horror stories about people meeting their heroes and like they're having a bad day and it's a horrible experience, right? So I'd be mortified if I was like that with somebody. So I always try, like, if anyone's coming to come and talk to me, I'll always give time for them, right?
Yeah.
Because my job is ridiculous, and people who enjoy our content allow us to feed ourselves and our company to survive.
Yeah.
I appreciate having a bit of a taste of that, seeing these guys that I've looked up to and wanted to meet, that they'd make the time to talk to me. It really does mean a lot, So I'm glad you had good experiences with it too.
I'd rather, like just something popped in my head is I'd rather live a humble lifestyle and be happy than live a lifestyle of wealth and be miserable, because I did wealth and misery for the last 5 years of my life.
It's just not worth it, is it?
No, it tends to eat your soul. It's not fun.
Yeah.
Even if it is something cool that you're doing, it just starts to really grate. But just to jump back into, I think we've got time for like 1 or 2 more questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
Here's an interesting one, because you're familiar with old Hammer versus new Hammer. How do you think the design aesthetics and, I don't know, just overall look of old Games Workshop minis, how do you think they compare to new ones?
Oh, so it's an interesting question. So objectively, if I do my best to take personal bias out of it, the new miniatures are superior because they're much more detailed and they're far more sharp. However, I feel like the hand sculpted old miniatures have more soul to them. And I realize, so someone coming into it with fresh eyes, looking at an old Space Marine, they must look really dorky compared to what they're used to with the Primaris things, with the different sort of scale comparison to them. But there's just something really magic about the old stuff. And there's a lot of old miniatures that are actually, they're phenomenal, and they really do hold up. And then you realize they could be 20, 30 years old and they still look great. 3rd edition 40k certainly had a lot of this sort of thing. Like, think about the Demon Hunters, the original Inquisitor Cotillas is a phenomenal miniature. It's got such character to it, and somebody did that by hand, with like putty and a tool and everything. And when you move into the more modern area where you've got computer effects, it's definitely, for a business, it's very convenient, I guess you would say, in that you can quite easily adjust things, and if it doesn't come out how you want it, you can very easily change it, whereas with sculpted by hand you can't do that. But you can definitely see how it allows some shortcuts. So for example, if anyone gets a Primaris Space Marine sprue, I challenge you to look at the purity seals and see how many of them are mirrored. Other ones.
Copy paste, mirror.
Yeah, I do think when it comes to the games, I think the old ones again have a bit more soul to them. Because Games Workshop these days don't do much in the way of make your own stuff. They tend to have you swim in the waters of the kits they make already. Yeah. Whereas the old stuff, like we're talking about with the Chaos Space Marines, there'll be holes in the product range, and the intent is you make your own. And when you read White Dwarfs from that time, that's what all the staff are doing. Like, it's quite rare that you see someone with the commander of their army as the default miniature out of the pack. There's always something that they've done to it to make it their own one. Yeah. And they'll have a story behind them, and they made, this is, Brother Captain Lucius, and he's done this and this and this and this. And I feel like some of that's missing a little bit. A great example of that raw hobby nature of it would be the Tale of Four Gamers articles, I think. Because those are great in that you've got 4 players who all approach collecting army in a totally different way, but it's all very down to earth, and that you see what they're spending and how they're sourcing parts and why they're doing it for different things and what things they're getting to save for future weeks. And of course, Paul Sawyer's famous one where he's got some money left over, so he goes and buys a bacon sandwich with it. I wish they would have more of that. I feel like the specialist games stuff, what used to be Forge World, I feel that's got more of it. So for my personal hobby, I tend to gravitate towards the Old World and the Horus Heresy as opposed to 40k and Age of Sigmar. I find that, especially with fantasy, the more granular nature of how you can customize things just appeals a bit more to what I like about the hobby.
When I got back into it, I was out of it for a good 12 years, and I poke my head in, Games Workshop's website every so often to see what was going on. I remember when they were introduced Primaris, I'm like, what the hell are these? Those aren't Space Marines. But as I got more and more into it, coming up, I got fully back into it. I went and bought paints and started painting again January 24. But I was always sitting there like, why is everybody's miniatures the same? Like, why is everyone assembling them the same way? And after buying Modern Hammer minis, I'm like, oh, because they only go together one way.
Yeah, there's
this is kind of lame.
Whereas the old figures are much more, especially the era of the Space Marines and the Mark 7 armor, how all the kits are modular, and you can combine them together. There's infinite possibilities of what you can do with those miniatures.
I've seen a lot of people.
What I mean, like the Primaris, the proportions are objectively better.
They're anatomically
I feel like they're
correct
missing
now.
something.
The first edition, the old metal Logan Grimnar, I painted him up for Olden Demon this year. His anatomy is so bad, dude. His head is like down here in his chest.
It's so strange. The Terminators do look weird. I just have my dog barking at the door.
Oh, go ahead, man.
Just a second. Sorry.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he wants to be involved. Do you want to say hello to everybody? Hey, come on. I know that you like dogs on this show.
It's fine, dude.
Come on.
Pets are an important part of people's lives.
Oh, there he is.
Hello. He says, nope, I'm done.
Spot. You're 2.5 years old, aren't you? Yeah. And you're going to cause some mischief now. He's going to start barking at me, so sorry about that. But yes, sorry to interrupt the show.
That's the first.
No one minds.
That's the first guest appearance of a dog on my show.
That's all right.
Yeah.
There you go, boy. You're famous. Yes, you are. He is a good boy.
I lost my train of thought. It doesn't matter. I've got a really.
Sorry.
I've got a good.
We're talking about Old Hammer versus.
Oh, there we go. There's been numerous people in the 40K world, and like I'm one of them, who have talked about like Games Workshop needs to bring back Mark 6 and Mark 7 helmets. That's the biggest killer for me. I don't like the Primaris helmet. It looks too riot gear. It's just strange looking. And thankfully they did that with the Space Wolves kits, the new ones, like with the Blood Claws. You get beaky helmets and you get Mark 7 helmets. I'm like, yes.
Well, I think.
They're talking about. Go ahead.
I think there's like a trend. If you look at how the Primaris releases are going, I think there's a bit of a pattern to it. And I've got a prediction to make, which will be interesting to see if it comes true. So if you look at the releases for the Primaris, it starts out very like they reel back all the 40k-ishness to them, and they look a little bit more like a Halo suit of armor. The initial Primaris guys. Now over time, they seem to be slowly moving back to more of the old aesthetic with all the weird stuff on them. And I mean, the Black Templars were definitely a watershed moment for that. But you're right, with the Space Wolves, there's more of that too. And they seem to be starting to reintroduce old squads like the Terminator squad and the Scout squad. And with the Space Wolves, you've got the Grey Hunters and the Blood Claws. So I think, that when the next edition of 40k comes along, I think you'll see a modern rendition of a tactical squad. I think. And they'll be like intercessors, but now your intercessors can have a heavy weapon option and a special weapon option, and the sergeant's got a chainsaw and a pistol. I bet you It's going to go back that way. And in the set, there'll be some Mark 7 helmets mixed in. And I think it's just because they realize people like that stuff.
I watched the whole video it was like 30-minute video of why it's technically Mark 8. We know it's Mark 8. We know it's errant armor. Why the Primaris armor now Mark 10 is so important is that it's like completely backwards compatible with everything. Like it's meant everything is now meant to be 100% modular for the Space Marine. If he gets if he loses a armor panel on his arm or his chest, they can just slap a Mark 7 armor panel on or a Mark 6, and it instantly integrates to the rest of the system. Where I guess some of the older armor had problems with that.
Yeah, as you go further back, they're more clunky and less modular. Yeah.
And just adding to what we were talking about with the heads, like I think Games Workshop is going to have to eventually go back to being like a modular setup with legs and torso, because I think customer base is just going to get kind of frustrated that everybody has the same models as they do, and if they want their armies to look different, they're going to have to start hacking and cutting and gluing together, and most people aren't really comfortable with kit bashing or conversion to that extent.
Yeah. Well, Games Workshop always works on a bit of they call it the pendulum, some of the guys in the old studio. Now they tend to swing from one extreme to the other when it comes to the different aspects of the hobby. A good example of that would be back in around about 2013 or so. Games Workshop was almost shy of the fact they sold games, and people wanted to build their armies, and you had a competitive scene, but you also had the casual scene, but they liked crafting their army with the points and things. And I do remember early video stuff, we had to explicitly not talk about, I'm going to pick this gun because it fires loads of shots and I like rolling lots of dice. Instead, it would have to be specifically, I built this because I think it looks good. Yeah. And if you look at all the rules around then, there was lots of things where they clearly didn't think the points were important. So I remember an Imperial Knight detachment data fax thing. If you took that, you got all these special rules for free. And then Age of Sigmar comes out, of course, and has no point system whatsoever. So you can see that was like the ethos at the time. But since then, it's now swung back the other way. And now you could argue that 40k is really heavily focused on competitive play, because it's all about these deployments that are all the L-shaped ruins everywhere, and it doesn't have the same, scenic style of what the old games, the older versions did. Now, I think that's going to swing back again, and you'll have a number of years where it goes a bit more balanced and it gradually gets more over the top. Casual. And I think the sculpting is going through the same thing. I think they've gone to a point where they've made the miniatures quite specifically built only in one way. And I think now they're starting to go back and allow a bit more play on it. So I think you'll see a bit of an evolution, but I mean, it's to be seen. But the Games Workshop's had that happen almost all the way through their history. Yeah.
There's one more question, then we'll wrap the show up. We're not going to do a deep dive into your Instagram just because of your time constraint. But this is the last question I always ask all of my guests: is what advice would you give to painters just starting out to help them avoid the pitfalls you experienced?
Oh dear. Well, so when I started out, the world was quite different when it came to painting, and I was very shy, and you had to ask people in person to show you how to do things. And I can remember asking a guy about a painting technique, and he gave me quite a condescending answer, and I took that quite badly, and it put me off asking people for advice for quite a long time.
Oh, that sucks.
I mean, it wasn't really until I was in retail and I had Peachy and Neil there that I really started to ask for advice and how to improve. So it's quite different these days. There's loads more resources and things, but I encourage people not to be. Oh, it's a totally different world. I encourage people not to be shy about asking for advice and for feedback. But likewise, because the nature of how things like social media work with their algorithms, you mustn't just compare yourself to people who have been doing it for ages and putting on these incredible models on Instagram, right? Because it's quite the same as I know with people with photos they put up for modeling, and people can compare themselves physically to that and like, oh, why am I not like that? You get to a degree the same sort of thing with the miniature painting, in that the model that they're looking at may have taken an enormous amount of time to paint and thousands of hours of practice and like years of experience to get to that point. And if your first model doesn't compete to that, you shouldn't take that personally. The only person you should compare yourself to is yourself yesterday. Yeah. Right? Have you improved a little bit from there? Yeah. Well, if you want to improve, have you learned a bit more than what you knew yesterday? And if you keep on that path, you will get better and better. Anyone can learn how to paint miniatures. It's not that difficult, really. I think it's mostly down to honing the the mechanical process of paint, like how to move your brush, how to keep steady, how to get those fine details and keep your brush in the right place to do them. Likewise, learning how to prepare your paint correctly. So out of the bottle, typically it's not quite right, and you have to just adjust it on your palette to get it to the sweet spot before you apply it. Now, once you understand what that sweet spot is in terms of thinning the paint down, you'll be able to find it with any brand of paint, with any color. But it just takes a bit of time to understand what that is.
Yeah.
But once you've got those things, everything starts to unlock. And, once you've got that basic neatness down, you can then start experimenting with more advanced things. So you just got to steadily build up and just not be intimidated by what other people are doing. Because Instagram will always push the top painters, the biggest followings and stuff like that. You just got to be careful not to let that put you off.
It's going back to that's a good one. Is like, are you a little bit better than yesterday? That's really cool.
Yeah.
Funny thing
I really want people to be able to, if they want to take part in the hobby, I really want them to feel like they can do it, because it's a bit more obvious when it comes to the gaming thing, but it's the same principle. I've known, and I felt this way too, people who will play a game and they'll get thrashed and they'll be embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
And they won't want to play again. And on the online discussions, when people talk about metas and what's competitive, what's a viable build, all this kind of thing, I am certain it's because people just don't want to feel that horrible feeling of getting thrashed.
Yeah.
They want to be able to put up a fight in the tabletop, and they're okay with losing. They just don't want to feel like they just turned up, took all the models off and gone home and feel like they've been embarrassed, right? And when it comes to painting, it's the same thing. And I think I realized this when I started watching what people were acting like when they were playing against me. Because, so it's a weird thing for me to negotiate, because I find the whole thing quite strange to understand, right? But people view my models as being really well painted. They don't want to be embarrassed playing against them, and it'll put them off. And I really don't want someone to feel like that against anybody, because the painting is a very personal experience, and it's a really joyful experience as well. It's really relaxing, and you get to express a bit of yourself. You shouldn't feel like has the other person painted their army better or not. Like, that shouldn't matter at all. It's like, am I happy with what I've done? Do I feel like I've learned a bit with this army? Do I feel like it's better than the previous one I did? That's the thing I think it should be about. So I really, I think most of my life's work has been to try and get people to feel like they can do it too, and to actually do it as well.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. And it's so cool when you see somebody having painted a miniature following one of our guides, and they say that, when they started, they felt they'd never be able to do it.
Yeah.
And they've not only painted it really well, it's like it's as good as or better than the one I did. That's amazing. It makes me so happy when that happens.
Oh, you just touched on something that's like really special to me. Like, I've only put out 2 tutorial videos thus far, and mine are quite extensive in that, like, I show the entire process. And
of course, with your old hammer figures, yeah.
I've had numerous people come, like, on Reddit and Instagram and Facebook, like, thank me for putting them out. And they're like, hey, I tried, I can't get it yet, but I'm going to keep on trying because, I can see you doing it. And I know I can do it. I just want to keep doing, I keep wanting to try. And it just feels really good that, like, I get to create this kind of motivation in somebody through painting these silly little army men that I've been doing for 30 odd years. And it's actually really cool to hear you say very much the same thing. It's just neat to see people actually wanting to push themselves. And the funny thing was, I was going to the gym last night at like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And just going over the Lamarties I sent you that I'm entering in LVO, just going over the entire process in my head and thinking about the things that I've learned and the things that I need to pay attention to going forward from him. Last year around this time, I did an Ulrich Slayer that was for an online competition. I ended up entering him in LVO in January. But I remember at that time I was struggling with the metallics and I was struggling with the wolf pelts. I hadn't come up with my process for them yet. And I've told people, like with Lamarties, like this one, it was great because I didn't struggle on a lot of stuff. The cloth I still need to improve on, but I didn't struggle. So I was free to like actually focus and pay attention as opposed to getting frustrated. And, for anybody who's into painting, look at your models and be a little bit better than yesterday. And the more that you do it, the better you get. And you mentioned this unrealistic beauty expectation of like algorithms showing you the best of the best. Yeah. Don't compare yourself to that. That's somebody who, like it's like a master, someone who's been playing piano for 40 years.
Yes.
There's over 10,000 hours of experience in that. It takes, I think piano mastery takes a minimum of like 10 years. So
yeah. And it's also personal as to what makes you happy too, right? So my personal hobby is army painting. That's what I like to do. The high-end stuff, I admire it and I can appreciate it, but that's not really my jam. And I know the people who do that, they are better painters than me. They certainly are. And I think that's great because that's their part. But I'm quite content with my thing, doing my thing my way. And I really want people to feel the same way about their stuff. So all the stuff that we do is to try and encourage that. So I really want it so people don't compare themselves to what I've painted, instead to understand that if they practice, they can do it, and they can do it better as well. So
there was a guy. We'll wrap it up after this. There was a guy who posted on Facebook yesterday, and he's like, "Oh, I've got painter's fatigue. I've got burnout. Da 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 da." And I think one of the best pieces of advice I've ever come up with is, go paint your guilty pleasure. If you're burnt out, paint something that's a guilty pleasure. It's like you want that burrito from down the street because you've been working your ass off at the gym for a month. Go get that burrito down the street. So for me, it's like painting up like simple blood angels or space holes. That's my guilty pleasure. It makes me happy because I can do 3 of them in a week.
Yes.
So
and you just enjoy the process.
Yeah,
right?
I can turn my brain off and just oh, I like how this looks. This is fun, and and then it's like, okay, 2 weeks later, okay, now I got to dive back into something more difficult. I've decompressed. I'm good.
I think that is good advice. Yeah.
So to wrap up the show, is there anybody you'd like to give shout outs to?
Oh goodness me! I would like to give a shout out to Angel Giraldes.
Okay.
Which might come out of left field. You mean as like a painting person, right? Online. Or do you mean just in general?
In general or painting people, it doesn't matter, whoever.
Well, I'd like to say Angel because I have got a lot of respect for him. He's a very down-to-earth, very humble guy, a phenomenal painter, and I just got a lot of respect for how he operates and the way he carries himself. So if he listens to this, you're cool. As for the other folks, I'd say a shout out to the folks at work. Joe for really pushing us to another level. Jack for working really hard. Bernice for meaning I don't have to stress about things like doing the receipts and all this sort of stuff. And Gizmo for keeping us all safe, of course. And to all my gaming buddies. So Neil, who I had a beer with the other night. Yeah, look at me. I'm doing like all the people I know in the world. But yeah, I'm very lucky to be surrounded by such great people. But of course, I have to say thank you to Roger for being my partner on this very surreal journey. My business partner through all of this sort of stuff. The two of us have worked together for a long time, and we've become very close friends. So yeah, I always feel like on these things, like he should be on them as well, because we really are each half of the team. If you get what I mean, I've got getting this thing going. So yeah. Sorry, I was rambling a bit there.
Oh, you're fine. So the final part of the show is the mystery question. Your mystery question comes from Crown of Command.
Oh, and, okay. Yeah.
Josh asks, what paint can you not live without?
Oh, goodness me. I always find myself using Griffin Claw.
Okay.
I don't know why. It's like a dark ivory. I seem to use it for tons of stuff. It's one of like just useful go-to ones. Yeah, and probably a dark brown wash. So Battlemed wash, I'd say.
Okay,
that's a good question. There's a lot of paints I can't live without.
Well, as I tell any guest or every guest, the mystery question doesn't have to be about painting. Like he was just kind of on the spot. He's like, oh, I didn't really think about that. The previous question from him was from Gobo Girl. And it was, actually, hang on. No, there was actually one other one before him. It was basically like, what is your favorite Italian dessert?
I see. It's just like a random thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to leave a question, for the next guest, who actually you'll know who it is. I'll tell you after the show is over. He's coming on in January. But if you want to leave a question, what question would you ask the next guest?
And it can be about anything, right?
Anything at all. Just appropriate anything.
Okay. What is the best video game ever made?
That's a good one. That's hard to narrow down too.
I know, there's a lot of choices. The correct answer is Final Fantasy VII.
Okay, you're almost not wrong. Did you ever play the remake?
Yes.
Was it as good as the original?
It's a bit of a controversial thing, right?
Oh, that's fine.
Because and it's hard to explain without spoiling it if you've not played it. I think it's as good in its own way, because it's doing things to surprise you, whilst in a way that are like appear different, but it's doing it to make you feel the same things that you felt when you were playing the original.
Mm-hmm.
So it keeps doing stuff like, oh, we're going to change the story, and then it kind of doesn't. But then it sort of like bends it a little bit, makes it a little bit different, and then it kind of snaps back to where it was, and it's quite a strange experience.
Okay.
So if you're going to play it, you'll see what I mean. After playing it for about an hour or so, you'll suddenly go, that's different, and then you'll see how that affects things.
So basically, after you get out of the city.
No, still in the city.
Oh, okay.
The first one, Remake, is only in the city. Like it's a full 40-hour game, and it's just in the city, and it expands the story massively.
So you never actually
have you got a PlayStation? Have you?
Yeah, I've got a PS1 still.
Yeah. Oh, a PS1. Oh, yeah, that won't do it.
They put it on Steam, didn't they?
Yeah, it's on Steam. Yeah, in fact, you can do that. On PlayStation, I asked there was a demo on that. There might be a demo on Steam as well, but it does, like in the original demo, it's just the bombing mission at the very start. You go and blow up
that's what I was talking about. The bombing mission was that was like the first half or the first disc.
Yes. The demo is just the bombing mission, and it will take you about, I think, 45 minutes to play through it. But yeah, just the first game is just the city, and it goes up. It's about a 40-hour game. Mm-hmm. The second game is when you go out into the open world for the first time and basically do the world tour. Okay. And it's about 100 hours to do that.
Oh, wow.
And they got a part 3 on the way, which is going to be picking up as you're heading up towards the Northern Crater.
Okay, so basically, like each version of the game is like just a separate disc. More
or less. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of. Yeah. I really like it because it keeps doing stuff like it'll take a famous scene you remember from the original and it'll blow it up to a crazy degree, and it'll keep doing it with nods and links to the original stuff.
Okay.
So like some of the areas you'll walk into, you'll suddenly realize you literally walk into one of the old screens from the original game. Mm-hmm. I remember this as a still, now it's a fully realized 3D environment that blends into the next one. I'm
assuming it's kind of like-ish, like StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2? Or did you ever get into those?
I only know them vaguely. I think it's quite a different. I've never known a game that's been redone in this way.
Okay.
And like I say, it's hard to explain without spoiling it.
One of these days, I'll have to give it a shot because I loved Final Fantasy VII when it came out. I think I was in I think it was like freshman or sophomore year of high school. And I mean, at the time, we're sounding like a bunch of old dudes, but at the time, it was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And
I know,
RPGs had never been done to that level. I mean, you had Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI, which were bloody epic, but 7 was just, they didn't go up one level, they went up like 10 levels.
Yes, yeah. So there's a lot of purists who hate it because these little alterations and weird things they're doing. I really like it, though. To me, it seems obvious to people making it love the original and want to do it justice whilst also making it fresh and new. And I think what makes it so special for me is that they've captured the nuances of the characters and how they interact with each other. So, the characters Cloud and Barrett, who they start off not liking each other. There comes a point where they start to understand each other.
Yeah.
And about halfway through the second game, they have such a great moment, and you can realize that these guys are actually now really good friends. And the whole progression is so natural, and it's just so joyous to see. So I just recommend that people try it and make up their own mind.
Well, that sounds like an experience. My only problem is it's like with TV shows and with video games, I have to really pick and choose what I watch or play because I'm the kind of person that will just binge it and put off everything else. So I got into watching the Halo TV series, and I think like the last 4 episodes of season 8, I'm like, no, I'm not doing, or season 2, I was like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to watch these, and I'll get back on painting like in a night or 2.
Yeah.
And then the same thing happened with 3 Body Problem. With video games, there's a Metroidvania series that I'm really into called Axiom Verge. When Tom releases a new Axiom Verge, that's all I do for 3 or 4 days is Axiom Verge because it takes 5 or 6 years for him to make the game. But the game is so lore deep that it's like, nope, the whole world can go away. And my gal's like, are you coming over? I'm playing Axie and Verge. Leave me alone.
Priorities.
She's like, oh. But Axie and Verge is like, have you ever gotten into Metroidvanias?
No, I've not.
Not even Super Metroid?
No, I know of it, but I've never played it.
It's just from being a musician, from being an artist, from being a producer, everything. Both games thus far, just the music, the presentation, everything is just a sight to behold. I mean, it looks like a Super Nintendo game, but one dude makes the whole thing, and everything is his style, and everything flows and works so well. It's really neat. That's
really cool.
I'd recommend it to you, but it might. I'd say if you want to play it, play the second one first. They both tie into each other, but the second one, he really refined the controls, insta warps like around the map, stuff like that. The first one, the controls, you can tell it's his first game as far as the game series goes. But anyway, I don't want to keep you too much longer because we're just randomly ranting about stuff. Thank you very much, Duncan, for taking the time out of your day to come on the show. I really appreciate it. I was really looking forward to talking to you, and I was actually kind of nervous. So.
Oh, don't ever be nervous talking to me. Really, anyone who sees me at a show or anything like that, please do say hello. I'll always do my best to make time. Okay, stick around. I want to ask you a few questions when we're off camera, but I'm going to shut this down. So thank you guys for watching. Here's a few more videos. I have no idea what will be out at this time because when this comes out, it'll be March. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys in a bit.